Ensure that everyone experiencing or at risk of homelessness can access safe and appropriate crisis response through diversion prevention shelter or access to crisis housing with appropriate services. These stats show what type of housing veterans are in and the regions of Minnesota they are from.
My name is Ben Wilson. I am the Homeless Veteran Coordinator with the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs.
What does your agency do?
Well, we do a lot. We are the state version of Veterans Affairs, I guess. So there's federal and state, and then there's county veteran service officers. So I guess our agency, we are responsible to get veterans statewide connected with the benefits that they've earned, which is, of a wide variety of different things. And then we also work very closely with the county veteran service officers to make sure that they have the ability to connect veterans in their counties, at the local level with benefits as well.
How do you know you wanted to do this, or how did you find out?
Well, excuse me. I'm a veteran myself, and I guess when I was completing my undergrad at Hamlin University, I did an internship with the Minnesota Historical Society, and through kind of the research and my project that I was doing with the Historical Society, I ended up interviewing a variety of different people that work in this realm, and one of them just happened to ask me what I was doing after I graduated college, and I ended up sending in my resume, and that's kind of how I fell into this realm. I never really pictured myself working in sort of a homeless veteran field, but it worked out really well, and I've this is the third role I've sort of played in this realm. So I used to work for a nonprofit called the Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans prior to coming to the state.
What's the demographics look like?
So it's really across the spectrum. We've assisted veterans from age 19 to age 99. The last time I ran an analysis on kind of the bulk age group that we're serving through our homeless veteran registry, it was I think there was about 60% of the veterans we were assisting were between ages 51 to 70. You're kind of you're dealing with people that are in crisis, so you're always sort of having to prioritize individuals sort of based on what their needs are. So if I'm not working directly with service providers, sometimes I'm doing some outreach to veterans. I also act as the veteran representative with the Minnesota Office to Prevent and End Homelessness, which is through Minnesota Housing. So I spend a lot of time on that team as well, and we've developed something called the state's plan to prevent and end homelessness. So I do a lot sort of at that state level, and then I do a lot of other community collaborations, and just with different providers, and then I'm all over the state.
Why is it so hard for vets to find housing and jobs, in your opinion?
Right now, the biggest contributors to that are a lack of affordable housing, very low vacancy rates almost everywhere in the state. I don't really know of many places that have high vacancy rates. They're almost incredibly low, which means that landlords can really sort of cherry pick who they want to rent to.
Yeah.
And so somebody who is coming out of homelessness has a very hard time to get a landlord to sort of, select them in the selection process because they may not have rental history or 2 or 3 times the income required to rent from them. So it's really, I would say those are the biggest things. I would say low vacancy rates, high rent, and sort of the ability of those property managers to cherry pick who they want to rent to.
What was your most memorable experience in your years working there?
Oh, I've had a few of them, but I've had the opportunity to present at the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans a couple of times, and I'll actually be presenting out there again this year in Washington, D.C. At the end of this month, actually. So that's a pretty big highlight, definitely. And then, obviously, whenever as a team, whenever we all really work together well and house a veteran who, has incredibly high barriers or, really needed it the most, it's a really a great feeling to be able to see that person move in and hear their story.
What impact does this have on the veterans and you?
Well, quite a bit, actually, in terms of how it impacts communities, for every veteran that we can sort of divert away from emergency shelters and public assistance by just, providing them some short-term help to sort of get them on their feet and stable again.
Yeah.
That's really a savings to the community and the taxpayers throughout the state. To providers, it can definitely be, it wears on people quickly when they're dealing with other people's crises.
Yeah. So
you really have to pay attention to your coworkers, and you have to make sure that they're not burning out. And it's definitely one of those jobs that all jobs have stress involved, but definitely you're dealing with your own stress, and then you're also dealing with a lot of emotions that go along with dealing with somebody in a homeless situation as well. So it can be pretty taxing on providers sometimes as well.
What can people do to help the call to action?
Well, a lot of different things, actually. People can learn from people who have experienced homelessness. I think that's one of the most important things to understand, that it's not just 1 or 2 things that cause somebody to become homeless. It's very unique for every person,
Yeah.
They might lose a job, or a relationship falls apart, or they have a health event that costs them way more money than they can afford, and the next thing they know, they've lost everything. They've lost their house, or they've lost their job, or they've lost a spouse, or a variety of different things. And if people just understand that and they're empathetic toward it, it can go a long way. Other things people can do are just go lobby your local leaders to figure out ways to prevent homelessness, and lobby them to create more affordable housing. Anyone can call their representatives and tell them that you want more affordable housing in your community, or even just developing housing in general, because if you're just developing new housing, then naturally it creates affordable housing as well. People can donate time, they can donate clothing, they can volunteer with local veteran service organizations, or come and volunteer with at different events on Veterans Day, or a lot of different things.
Where would you go to donate if you want to donate money or clothes?
Where would they donate it?
Yes.
So you can donate to The Minnesota Assistance Council for Veterans is a statewide nonprofit. They take in-kind donations. Almost a lot of local communities have American Legions and VFWs. There's also Disabled American Veterans, or DAV. There's Vets for Vets. There's quite a number of different vet organizations, and I encourage you to, if you need to just find some to donate to, you can always go on the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs website, or you can always call me as well if there's anything in particular that somebody would be interested in donating. I could definitely connect you with the right folks to do that.